Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joy Evans.
And I'm Mike Delisio.
Today we're taking a look at a game called Harmonies. Now, I knew nothing about Harmonies when it showed up. It looked nice, colored chunky pieces, animals, but it didn't really... I was like, it looks interesting. Mike said, hey, can I look at it? I was like, sure, didn't think about it. Then suddenly online, it became a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most talked about games in the past few months. It was just on the short list for the Spiel des Jahres. Mm-hmm. So it's the thing that I was like, oh, you're placing things in matching patterns. Been there, done that. Mm-hmm. That was kind of my thoughts going in. Cascadia is the king of that arena right now. Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of spoiled the overview, but here's how it plays, and then we'll talk about it. Each player has their own board here, and you're going to have the central board where you'll be pulling different discs from a bag. You can see they each have different colors and symbols to help differentiate the colors from each other. And on your turn, you will be taking one of these groups. So maybe I'll take this group here, and I'll place them wherever I want to on the board. In fact, you can place them on top of other pieces as long as you follow the chart here, which shows you can see gray pieces can be placed on gray, reds can be placed on gray, red, or brown. Browns and greens can be placed on brown. So I can do what I want, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get some animals on my board. So let's say, for example, I take this card. On your turn, you can take one card, and you can also place animals on your board. You don't have to do those actions, but you can. You must take a group of 3, which will be at the end of your turn, replaced with 3 more random discs from the bag. So let's say I take this card. When you take a card, you fill the card up with cubes. Now, let's say I put this here like this. On a future turn, maybe I'll take this one. I'll put this red over here, and I'll stack these 2 grays up here. Now you'll notice I have the 3 grays and the blues stacked up next to each other, just like it shows here. I take the bottom cube, and it shows to put it on the blue one. Once a cube's on the board, you can't put any discs on top of that, and you can't do that again. So I can't do that exact animal again. However, if I did another blue here, like this in the future, I'm making that same shape again. This one doesn't have a cube, so I'd be able to take the cube off of here and put it on there. At the end of the game, you're going to get points equal to the highest uncovered cube. If you get all of them, you'll be able to take this card and put it face down because you can only be working on 4 different cards at a time that are placed above your board. So you're trying to match different patterns, and the deck has an entire group. All these cards are different, and this one needs 2 blues next to a double gray. This one is a triple gray next to a yellow, so I could even use the same one if I had that and make an animal that way, as long as you follow the rules. The game's going to go until the bag runs out of discs or to one person has 2 or less, and then you're going to score. But you're not just scoring for animals. There's also some basic scoring here, and this basic scoring will change. The bottom part of it changes depending on which side of the board you're using. But here you'll get points for trees. So the size of the tree will give you 1, 3, or 7 points. Mountains can give you 1, 3, and 7 points, but they have to be all connected. If you have a mountain by itself, it doesn't get you anything. The plains here give you 5 points for every group of 2 or more. If I have 5 together, that's still going to only give me 5. The red buildings will give me points as long as they're next to 3 different colors. And then I'm trying to get a long river here, or on this side, connecting the different sides to each other. And that's basically it. You're going to add up all your different points, and whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. There's also a slightly advanced version where players can get an animal, and this is an animal that only you can be working on, trying to get points for that over the course of the game. I'm a huge fan of the quality of this game.
Right.
I love how small the box is comparatively. Mm-hmm. The wooden pieces are not only different colors, but they have different symbols on.
Yep.
The card artwork is
gorgeous,
amazing. Mm-hmm. My only complaint about the cards themselves is I found it a little tricky. I had to sometimes look at a card to see if the underlying piece was wood
Oh, yes.
or wild.
I agree with that.
I wish they had used just a completely different color, and there was some, for as simple as the game is, because it's unusual. They're like, here's 3 pieces. I'm like, do I have to Mancala? I just assume that's what I have to do. Like, no, you
Right.
put them anywhere you want, whatever, in any order. Great, but the rules about placing pieces on top of others feels just a smidge complex. It shouldn't be, right? It's like, oh, there's like a little chart in a book, but that chart should be on the boards or something.
Yeah, or on a
felt.
player aid card or
Right.
something, yeah.
What do you think about the components and stuff?
I think it's a fantastic production from top to bottom. I do agree that, it would be a little nicer for clear on the cards, but I didn't struggle with that too much. Some of the best art, really, on those cards that I've seen in a game, especially, kind of like these nature-y, puzzly games. This has a very distinctive style. It's almost got kind of like that, I can't think of the name of the art, but it's almost like the...
like paper art almost?
Kinda, yeah, sort of that type of a thing. But yeah, just beautiful. Like you said, the box size is perfect. The pieces are very chunky and nice. The only thing I would say is that in practice, sometimes because of the fact that you're sometimes placing pieces near other things that have already been constructed, and you got those little cubes on top, you do have to be careful about how you're
To not
placing
I have
stuff.
knocked cubes.
I've done. Speaking of the cubes, everything's great, and even like the amber cubes, for some reason, making those amber, it just looks pleasant, even when you have it built. So yeah, component quality, I think it's great.
So the gameplay is where obviously people are going to have, it's the do or die.
Yeah.
And it's, in some ways, it's simple. You take the 3 pieces, you put them out, you then take a card and or finish animals. And finishing animals is the weird one because in its patterns, you're building patterns that crisscross other patterns, which crisscross themselves. And that's kind of a cool concept, but there's 2 things, and I know that you're going to bring one up, so I'm going to cut you off at the pass. One is luck, right? There's 2 forms of luck. One is I need a combo. There's the perfect combo. I need blue. There's not a single blue on the board.
Right.
The other is, and I've seen it happen in games.
This is the one.
You draw a card, and you're like, hey, I can almost finish this card right now.
Not
That just
almost.
works out.
I can finish this card right now. It's the Takanoko issue, right? It's the same thing that was the complaint. The biggest complaint I think about Takanoko was that you just happen to draw a card. Oh, I'm already got it. Boom, score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible in this game, and I don't think I've played with anyone who's done it yet, but it's possible to also simply hate draft. Because there's no negative...
Absolutely.
There's no negative repercussions to taking a card.
To not fulfill
Right.
that card, yeah.
So if you... and you're not going to fulfill tons of cards. It's a weird... This I don't know about the game. They had this 4-card limit. Ooh, and I'm like, well... I'm not working on more than 4 cards at a time ever.
Sure,
I'm working on 2 or 3.
Right.
So you probably have a 4th slot open, and then I just go, oh, that's what you're wanting? Well, you're not getting it because it matters. You could get 15 points. You could win the game if I don't hate draft that card. Again, I haven't seen anyone do that specifically, but it's a very real possibility.
I haven't seen it much, mainly because this game seems so heads down multiplayer solitaire.
Well, see, those 2 things I think are related. The only real interaction point is by hosing someone else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Otherwise, you're not interacting with each other at all.
I agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just wonder if it's going to get... Yeah, it is very mind-numbing, puzzling, and all that, but yeah, that's a big thing.
But here's the thing. For me, and this is... I can't even articulate this well enough. Like, I have a hard time justifying this.
Yeah.
This game makes me feel chill.
Yeah.
And what I don't understand is other games in the same ilk do not make me feel chill. But here I'm like, ooh, I can do that pattern. Oh, I can't do that pattern. I can do this pattern. I can't do that one. Oh, you know what? I'll give up on patterns and just start building mountains. Whatever. And I just feel kind of like, yeah, I'm having a good time. Oh, you hate drafted that card I want. I'll take a different card. And because I feel that way, I like the game better. But I definitely could see that for some people this would stress them out. But for me, I was just kind of like, eh. And I don't have a good reason as to why this one does it and other games don't.
Yeah, it's interesting because to me, obviously there are going to be points of comparison, other puzzly type of pattern games that this is going to be compared to, and I know that I'm going to, and it will affect my rating, quite honestly, is that there's a lot of games that have been coming out like this recently. This has, the kind of the 2 games that I think were a part of the big kind of explosion of this was Calico and Cascadia.
Yeah.
And to me,
Although I would argue that Cascadia has kind of obliterated Calico.
oh, it absolutely has. But I think that Harmonies has a situation that is similar to Cascadia, or excuse me, similar to Calico, in that I feel like this game is constrained, right? You've got a certain number of hexes, and it's not a lot. You're not spreading out really in this game.
Right.
It's a pretty small, compact area. And that to me is the part that I feel like works against the Zen a little bit, is that in Cascadia you can just spread out and kind of do your thing.
Right.
And this one, it is more constrained. And I feel like it's a little bit stricter in the placements with a high luck element. So those things work at cross purposes to me.
Yeah, I think the constriction for me makes this more mind-numbing than like Cascadia or Azul, things like that. Now, one thing I will say is the scoring on this I really like, as far as you just glance and see where you've taken those cubes, and the scoring is quick on this.
Sort of. My counter to that, and I get that the cards are there, but I never felt constrained because the other scoring exists.
Sure.
I can't finish my cards. I've given up. I'll make the river longer. I'll build a mountain. I'll throw a few trees on the board.
Sure.
And I like that. This is where it differs from Calico, because Calico at the end you're like, well, unless I draw the exact piece, I am losing points.
That's true.
Here I can be like, well, I'll make one of my mountains bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I went
big
from
chunk.
1 to 3 or 3 to 7. That's a lot of points, and to me that's why I guess I just don't care.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that's a fair point. There is mitigation to not being able to score your cards. There are other ways to score, and that can help ease the pain a little bit, I suppose.
Yeah.
What would you give us?
I'm coming down, actually, I'm fine on Calico and Azul, looking at that. I'm coming in at a 7. I like the game. I won't gravitate to it, but I think it's a fun, I think almost relaxing style game. The one thing that gets you is
It
gets
isn't
me.
stressful.
What's that? It's not as stressful because it's so short. For me, it's mind-numbing as far as like getting that puzzle together, thinking, is there any way to wrap it around? But it almost doesn't matter as much because the length of the game. Yeah. Now, the flop matters a lot. I think it is kind of like when you see one come out and it just really works out for somebody. It's kind of like, but it's a shorter game, so you can kind of tolerate that. So I'm coming in at a 7.
I'm actually coming in at a 5, and I think I'm going to be the outlier amongst the general public. It has a lot of things going for it. It is beautiful. It is pretty approachable, right? It's not terribly complex. It's not, like, I don't know that I'd call this a welcoming game, maybe. No, I don't think I would. But it's pretty approachable, has wide appeal. I just feel like the many games that we've already discussed, Calico I'd rather play, Cascadia I'd rather play, Azul I'd much rather play.
Right.
And I feel like the luck of the draw is high. I also feel like there probably should, for some reason to me, it feels like there's not enough cards.
There's not enough cubes.
There's not enough cubes, there's not enough cards.
No.
I feel like there should be a little bit more there to keep, maybe a little bit more variety. So for me, a 5 is not a bad game. I want to be clear. I feel like for you it is, but for me it's a mediocre game. And that's the word I think that I associate with this, is that I feel like it's okay, it's fine, it's mediocre. So many other games of this ilk I would rather play, but again, I clearly am going to be in the minority, but that's how I feel.
I actually think a lot of people will agree with Mike, especially if you are looking for a more strategic experience. And that sounds snooty, and I don't mean it to be.
Yeah, no.
But the randomness here, I think the saving grace of the game is it's 30 minutes. It really is. I'm giving it an 8 because there's very few games that give me this feeling of, I had a good time. And I'm really not a fan of pattern games. I'm starting to really wear out on pattern games. But this one for me, I liked it because you can't mess up my patterns. Mm-hmm. So that's nice.
Other than taking your pieces.
Taking my pieces, but there's still, I can always get probably one of the colors.
Yeah.
Hopefully that perfect combo, but you don't even know what my perfect combo is per se. So it's the cards that you might take on purpose. I don't think the combos, and besides, a combo might come out. But I just have fun doing it. It's simple. It's easy. The scoring, we're done. We had a good time. And I think a lot of people will enjoy it for that reason. I think it's not going to have staying power. I think this is a flash in the pan. I do. I think that Harmonies will not be talked about in a couple years. But I think for now, it's meeting on the theme is going to be appealing to people.
Sure.
And it's just fun to build the different things in there. And I'm really having a good time with it. So... Oh, and also, I think 3 is best. 2 or 3.
Right.
4 is
Yeah.
a little too much for this. But I feel that way about a lot of games.
And I already did a review of the solo game too, so.
So there you go, folks. That is Harmonies. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joey Evans.
And I'm Mike Delisio.
We'll see you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. And you can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.